She told me she needed someone spontaneous. Said it with a flourish, like she was reading a line from a bad soap opera. Camera in hand, fake tears primed, ring on the coffee table like some twisted cherry on top. I was sitting on our couch, my couch, staring at a woman I thought I knew, as she performed our breakup for TikTok. She even added one of those sad filters, the kind with rain and violin music, like she was starring in some Oscar-winning short film. I didn't say a word, didn't storm out, didn't throw anything. Just sat there while she shouted over the soundtrack she edited in, telling the world I was too predictable, too boring. Just a placeholder until she found someone more fun. Then came the fake confession clip. She filmed herself at her office, whispering into the camera about her work husband, Jason, implying they'd had something more. Spoiler: Jason is an intern with a permanent nervous twitch and adult braces. But reality wasn't the point. Viral content was. Her sisters were in on it. They helped her pick out the captions. Suggested one that read, "Marriage is cute until your man turns into your roommate." Hilarious stuff. She uploaded it with the hashtags #breakupprank, #upgrade season, #no regrets. It hit 1 million views before sunrise. People laughed, commented with fire emojis. A few called it savage, bold, real. She turned her phone toward me in the morning, still in her robe, hair messy from sleep and arrogance. "Babe, look, 1 million. You're famous." I looked at the screen, looked at her, then sent her a thumbs up emoji from across the room. That was it. Just thumbs up. No words, no drama, just a tiny, pixel-sized signal that I'd seen it. If you're still reading and you want to see where this goes, subscribe. Seriously, 90% of you hear stories like this and never hit the button. Do it for the algorithm, or just to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. It helps the team. And trust me, we're just getting started. Anyway, back to Laura. She laughed when she saw the emoji. Thought it meant I wasn't mad. Thought I was playing along. That same morning, I took out the trash like usual. Fed the dog, kissed her on the cheek, then said I was going for a walk. She waved me off with a distracted scrolling through comments about how lucky she was to have a husband who could take a joke. She didn't notice the backpack by the door. Didn't think it was strange that I wore the boots I only use for travel. Didn't register that I took my passport out of the safe. She sure as hell didn't notice that I left my house keys on the counter. Because while she was busy going viral, I was already gone. And not the kind of gone where you sleep at your brother's place for a few days and come back after the dust settles. I mean gone. Phone. Disconnected. Bank accounts. Moved. Mail? Forwarded. Legal counsel? Already looped in. See, Laura always thought of me as the quiet one. Steady. Predictable. She said it like an insult. But here's the thing about quiet people: we watch. We remember. And sometimes, we prepare. She thought it was a prank. She thought it was just content. But the only thing she really uploaded was her own funeral notice. And the eulogy? Let's just say it wasn't me who gave it. Not directly. That would have been too predictable. The night before I left, I stood in the hallway staring at the crooked picture frame Laura always insisted on keeping. One of those staged engagement photos with fake autumn leaves and me in a sweater I hated. Her smile was wide. My hand was on her waist. And if you looked close enough, you could see how hard I was trying to look happy. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. Just done. The kind of done that doesn't shout. It moves. I made my rounds in silence. Guest room. My office. Laundry room where I once found a receipt for a dinner I never had, charged to our joint card. I told myself it was probably for a work lunch. That lie had lasted a whole month. In the bedroom, she slept diagonally across the bed with one arm flung over my pillow. Mouth open. Still smirking, even in sleep. Maybe she was dreaming about comment sections and follower counts. Maybe she was dreaming about the guy she joked about. Maybe, though I doubt it, she was dreaming about me. I opened the closet, reached behind the boxes she never touched, pulled out the black folder that had sat there for 4.5 years. It was heavier than I remembered. Inside, copy of the post-nup she didn't realize had an enforceable sunset clause. A letter from the firm I quietly retained after our 3rd anniversary. Notarized deed transfers. The severance clause I added to her LLC when I bailed it out 2 tax seasons ago. And the kicker, witness declarations from 2 mutual friends about the prank's impact on my professional reputation. They were just insurance. Never needed them. But I had them. I packed light. 1 bag. Laptop. Flash drive. Folder. Passport. I didn't write a note. Didn't leave a goodbye text. No dramatics. That would have given her the attention she fed off of. I did, however, leave the hallway light on. She hated that. Said it made the house feel haunted. Fitting. At 6:42 a.m., I fed the dog, took out the trash, and slipped out the front door. She was still snoring. By the time she woke up, I was in another zip code. By the time she showered, I was off-grid. By the time she started filming her next post about our healed marriage or how to keep things spicy after a viral video, my phone number no longer existed. She texted. The messages turned from "Where are you?" to "Okay, seriously?" to "You're ruining the bit." She didn't know what kind of bit she'd really started. No calls went through. The email bounced. The house Wi-Fi still had my name on it, but I was already watching her login history switch from content planning to Google searches like "Post-nup enforceable prank. Can you go to jail for faking infidelity online? Husband disappeared after viral prank." She called her sister. I listened to the voicemail through a burner. "He's just being dramatic. He'll be back. He always comes back." But I wasn't being dramatic. I was being thorough. See, the moment she hit upload, she triggered a series of events I had arranged long ago, not out of spite, but out of pattern recognition. You learn to build an exit plan when you live with someone who treats people like props. I didn't leave to punish her. I left to let gravity do its job. And as for the silence, that was deliberate, strategic. Silence makes people confess to things you never asked. It sharpens their paranoia, makes them project their guilt in public where everyone can see. By the time she realized the silence wasn't passive, it was already weaponized. And I was just getting started. At first, Laura basked in it, like a lizard under a heat lamp. She wore her viral wife title like it was a brand deal waiting to happen. Every notification fed her like candy. 300K likes, 15K shares, some wannabe podcast host calling her a savage queen. She posted a follow-up that afternoon, wrapped in a bathrobe with a coffee mug and fake pout. So, about last night nail polish #breakup prank #no hard feelings. She even added a poll. Should I do another prank on Daniel? Smiling face with horns. The comment section was full of laughing emojis and people egging her on. For 12 hours, she was a hero to the emotionally unstable. But then, somebody found our wedding photo. Not hard, really. It was on her profile. Front and center. Full white dress. My awkward tie. Her sisters with that copy-paste bridesmaid hair. That's when the tone shifted. Wait, this was her real husband? Suddenly the comments turned sharp. Disbelief gave way to scrutiny. Then disgust. Jesus, you did this to your actual husband. Does he know you posted this? Are we just okay with humiliating people now for clout? This isn't funny. This is emotional abuse. A few content creators picked it up. Reaction videos. Duets with big eyes and silent head shaking. A guy with 4 million followers uploaded a clip. I just want to say, if my wife did this to me, the next video would be a moving truck. Within 24 hours, the energy went from "Yas queen" to "This woman's toxic." She tried laughing it off. People are so sensitive, she said during a live stream, sipping wine and rolling her eyes. But the algorithm doesn't care about intentions. It only sees engagement. And now, it was feeding her to the wolves. A wellness brand that once featured her in their mompreneur spotlight quietly removed her from their page. A skincare company she'd been talking to blocked her. Then her actual employer, an event agency where she was part-time remote, called her for a quick discussion. "We're reevaluating your contract." This incident has drawn a lot of attention and not the kind we're comfortable with. She tried to play it cool. It's all just content. People know it's fake. But people didn't care that it was fake. The damage wasn't in the acting. It was in the belief that this was something you could turn into a joke. That making a mockery of your marriage for strangers was just branding. She called me. The first time, it rang twice, then went to voicemail. The second time, "This number is no longer in service." She tried texting. "Hey, can we talk?" Didn't mean anything by it, lol. Seriously, stop ghosting. "Daniel? Hello. Are you punishing me?" Nothing. She DM'd me on Instagram. I'd already disabled mine. Her hands began to shake. Not from fear, yet, but from frustration. The kind you feel when the story stops going the way you wrote it. She posted another video. A full apology. Half makeup, half remorse. "Just wanted to say sorry to anyone who misunderstood the prank. Daniel and I have a playful relationship. He's just private. And funny. Like really funny. He's probably somewhere planning a comeback video. I love you, babe. I watched that one too. From a secure IP. The fake laugh. The flicker in her eye when she said my name. The fear creeping in through the cracks. She was starting to realize something was wrong. But not the thing she should have feared most. Not yet. The silence was only the first domino. The rest were lined up and waiting. 3 days after the video went viral, and 1 day after her Instagram followers dropped by 32,000, Laura opened the front door in a sleep shirt and slippers to find a man in a navy blazer standing on the porch. He wasn't holding a phone, not a camera, just a plain clipboard and a cold smile. "Certified delivery for Laura Whitaker," he said. She signed without thinking, still half scrolling her feed. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, embossed. When she saw the name of the law firm in the top left corner, Langford and Ellison, her stomach did something unfamiliar. It dipped. Daniel had mentioned them once, maybe twice. Years ago, something about contracts. She barely listened. She closed the door, turned on her heel, and ripped the envelope open with her thumb. The first page was short, unemotional. Notice of transfer acknowledgement and confirmation of property reassignment. The second page was longer. Legalese. Paragraph after paragraph of citations. Clauses. Subsections. But the third page? That's the one that made her knees buckle. Due to the execution of the enclosed post-nuptial property agreement, signed March 17, 2021, and the subsequent asset transfer filings, dated April 12, 2022, and November 3, 2022. The property located at 239 Glenview Terrace, including all land, structures, and contents, is now and has been the sole legal property of Mr. Daniel Whitaker. She read it 3 times before it registered. The house, her house, their house, not hers, hadn't been for years. Not even the kitchen, not even the paint color she insisted on, not the bathroom tile she made him redo twice. She dropped the letter, clawed through the rest of the envelope. Inside were notarized copies of deeds, filings, registry updates. Each one sealed, each one dated before the prank, before the video, before she ever thought of pressing record. And each document bore the same cold, formal stamp. Filed, confirmed, executed. This wasn't revenge. It was already done. The paperwork wasn't a reaction. It was a quiet, patient plan unfolding right on schedule. She stumbled backward and sat on the stairs, staring at the envelope on the floor like it might explode. Her phone buzzed. A message from her sister. "Did you hear back from Daniel yet? People are asking if it's a hoax." Laura didn't reply. She stood up, clutching the documents, and walked through the house. Suddenly, every corner felt unfamiliar. The framed photo of their honeymoon in Florence? She'd have to give that up. The rosewood table she found at that estate sale? Not legally hers. The walk-in closet? The clawfoot tub? The stupid little brass doorknobs she made him replace just because? Not hers. Not hers. Not hers. She pulled up the original deed on the county recorder's website. The name had been updated months ago. Quietly. Without fanfare. She didn't notice because she never looked. Why would she? Daniel paid the bills. She just made the content. And now, the content had made her a guest in a house she no longer owned. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a DM request. A verified badge. A financial journalist from a podcast she listened to religiously. "Hi Laura. Wondering if you'd like to comment on the legal filings circulating today. Fascinating setup. Seems your husband had quite the paper trail." Paper trail. She turned back to the envelope. Each page was numbered, labeled, arranged. She realized, with horrifying clarity, that Daniel hadn't just left. He'd prepared. And the worst part? This was only the beginning. She got in the car with a half-charged phone and an empty water bottle, hair thrown up in a knot that hadn't seen shampoo in 3 days, and mascara smudges still flaking under her eyes. The kind of look influencers call raw and real when they're trying to sell you a face cream. But Laura wasn't filming today. Today, she was chasing ghosts. First stop, Daniel's old office. The building where she used to send him memes during his lunch break, half of which he never replied to. She marched in like she still had permission to exist in his world. The receptionist looked up, puzzled. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Daniel Whitaker. He works in accounts." The woman blinked. "Daniel left over a year ago." "What? No, that's impossible. He works here. This is where he works. He drove his car here every day." The receptionist shook her head slowly. "I'm sorry. He resigned last spring. He took a position somewhere else, I think. But we don't have forwarding details." Laura stood there, stunned. A year ago? He never mentioned quitting. She didn't even know he'd cleaned out his desk. But then again, she didn't pay much attention to his work life. He was just there, steady. She turned without another word and left the building, hands clenched around her car keys so tightly they left red crescents in her palm. Next stop, Evan's place. Daniel's best friend. The guy who helped them move in. The guy who once fixed their sink at midnight because the plumber canceled. She knocked once. Twice. She could hear the TV inside. Someone paused it. Then nothing. She knocked again. Evan. It's me. Laura. No response. She waited. Then added, I just need to talk. Please. Still nothing. She pulled out her phone and called his number. Straight to voicemail. She texted, please. Just tell me where he is. I need to understand. The message showed as delivered, but never read. She sat in her car and stared at his front door for 12 full minutes, hoping he'd open it. He didn't. Third stop, Daniel's sister, Hannah. Laura tried calling. The number was no longer in service. She tried messaging her on Facebook. The profile was gone. Not deleted, just invisible. She opened Instagram. Same story. She clicked on an old post and tried to access Hannah's tagged account. User not found. Laura leaned back in the driver's seat and whispered, You've got to be kidding me. It was like someone had swept through her life with a magnet and pulled out all the metal. She drove past their old brunch spot, half hoping to see him on the patio, book in hand, black coffee steaming. Nope. She stopped by the gym he used to go to. The desk clerk pulled up his profile. He canceled his membership 11 months ago. Laura stood in the parking lot, staring at nothing, while life went on around her. Moms pushing strollers. Teens loitering outside the vape shop. The normal world, untouched. She wasn't being ghosted. She was being erased. Every person she turned to had either closed their door, disconnected, or vanished entirely. She was surrounded by people, but she had no one. Even the dog walker, the one who used to handle their Labrador on Thursdays, responded to her frantic text with, Sorry, I can't get involved. That was the line. I can't get involved. As if involvement was dangerous now. As if Daniel had become radioactive, and touching any part of his world would burn. And maybe it would. Because this wasn't silence by accident. This was coordination. Someone had helped him orchestrate this. Or more terrifying, he had done it alone. Every locked door. Every changed number. Every unanswered call. She wasn't losing access to Daniel. She'd already lost it. And now, she was just realizing how deep the isolation went. It was supposed to be a distraction. Laura had gone to her mother's house for sympathy, or at the very least, a warm kitchen and a glass of Chardonnay. Instead, she got a bowl of overcooked risotto and silence so thick it stuck in her ears. Her mom was unusually cold. Passive, not hostile, but the kind of passive that vibrates with judgment. She didn't mention the prank. Not directly. But she didn't say much of anything at all, which in this family was louder than screaming. They sat together on the floral couch in the living room, the television murmuring in the background. Her mother handed her a small blanket like she used to when Laura was 10 and faking the flu to skip school. It was meant to comfort. It didn't. Laura tried scrolling Instagram. Her fingers trembled. She couldn't even make it through one hateful DM before locking the screen again. Then it happened. Her mother had fallen asleep in the armchair. The remote had slipped between the cushions. The TV, still logged into her mom's YouTube account, autoplayed to the next recommended video. A still frame appeared. A modest room. Simple couch. Wooden bookshelf. Sitting on the couch, looking like someone had duct taped him to it, was her father. Laura blinked. Sat up. What the? He looked straight into the camera. Blinked once. Then began reading. At the request of Daniel Whitaker, I will now read a list of notarized documents. He held up a folder. Same shade of cream as the letter she'd received. He cleared his throat. Transfer of full property rights for 239 Glenview Terrace. Executed and recorded on April 12, 2022. He flipped the page. Termination of joint business accounts ending in 3117 and 8449. Executed and confirmed October 3, 2022. Flip. Post-nuptial clause. Marital asset separation signed March 17, 2021. Approved by independent counsel. Each sentence was like a hammer strike. She lunged for the remote. Couldn't find it. Her heart pounded in her throat. But the video kept rolling. Her father, stiff and pale, kept flipping pages. Each item ended with the same phrase. Now solely in the name of Daniel Whitaker. Her mother stirred, opened her eyes. What's this? Laura didn't answer. She couldn't. Her mouth had gone dry. Her father was still reading. Then he stopped. Looked directly at the lens. His expression, neutral, but exhausted. He adjusted his glasses. Picked up the final page. And read, On behalf of my daughter Laura, who found it entertaining to dissolve a marriage in front of strangers for views, I formally acknowledge her receipt of these consequences. The room went silent. Her mother gasped. Laura's hands shook as she finally yanked the remote free and paused the video. The frozen image of her father filled the screen. What is this?" her mother whispered. Laura didn't answer. She couldn't. Her own father had just publicly disowned her, on camera, no less, and read a list of legal betrayals like a funeral program. It wasn't Daniel's voice narrating the fall. It was her family's. And now everyone could see it. The video already had comments. Thousands. "This is how you clap back." He made her dad read it. "Savage. This is poetic justice." Laura refreshed. Views were climbing by the second. She stumbled out of the room, phone in hand, heart racing. Tried calling her father. Straight to voicemail. Tried texting him. Bubble turned green. Blocked. Her mother didn't say a word. Didn't offer comfort. Just stared at the TV like she didn't recognize the people involved. Laura stood in the kitchen, hands on the counter, shaking. This wasn't just about the prank anymore. It was about everything. And now, the world had a front row seat. The next morning, Laura woke up to 17 missed calls and a text from her mother that just said, "Answer now." Her fingers fumbled unlocking the phone, stomach already knotting. She tapped to call back. Didn't even finish the first ring before her mother picked up, already mid-scream. "What is wrong with you? What did you do to your father?" Mom, slow down. He's been up all night sick. Shaking. Mortified. "You made him read that garbage and put it on the internet." "I didn't make him do anything. I didn't even know." "Don't lie to me, Laura. That's your father. He's humiliated. He won't even speak to your Aunt Marie. Says he can't look her in the eye. You weaponized him." Laura held the phone away from her face, blinking. She hadn't heard her mother like this since the Thanksgiving disaster of 2016. But this wasn't about burnt yams. This was nuclear. "I didn't post the video," she tried again, quieter. "Daniel did. I had nothing to do with it." There was silence. Then, the most brutal sentence of the call. "Does that make it better?" The line clicked. Disconnected. She stood in her bedroom, shaking. Around her, piles of unfolded laundry and unpaid brand collab props sat like spectators to her unraveling. The phone buzzed again. Group chat. Family thread. This embarrassment. Her uncle had weighed in. "Due to the public nature of recent events, I'm advising the firm to legally distance itself from any online affiliations. That includes Laura's prior mentions of us in her content. We'll be issuing a takedown notice if necessary." Her cousin replied, "Can you at least blur my daughter's face in the wedding vlog? She's getting mocked at school." Then her younger sister. "Lau, you need to fix this. That video's everywhere. People are saying I helped you plan it." Laura opened the TikTok comments on the original prank clip. Her sisters' faces were frozen in the background, mid-laugh, captured forever. One comment had gone viral on its own. "Imagine being raised to respect your elders, then watching your niece use your brother like a prop in her own funeral." A Twitter thread followed. "This is what happens when attention replaces intimacy." By noon, her face was a meme. By 2 p.m., brands she'd worked with were purging her from their social feeds. By 3 p.m., her older sister blocked her. She tried calling her father. No answer. She tried emailing her mother. No reply. Even her cousin Rachel, who once bailed her out of a Vegas hangover, sent a cold message. "I'm sorry, but I can't be in the middle of this. My boss saw the video. It's affecting my job." Laura sat on her kitchen floor and realized something horrifying. No one, not one person in her family, had asked how she was doing. Not one asked what Daniel had said to her. Not one checked to see if she was okay. Because in their eyes, she'd crossed a line they didn't even think needed to be drawn. She'd made the private public. She'd turned her marriage into a skit. And now, in return, her family had turned her name into something radioactive. There was no reunion dinner. No forgiveness arc. No quirky group selfie to patch things over. Just silence. And the low, steady hum of everyone backing away from her, one notification at a time. It was past midnight when Laura finally opened the video again. Alone, lights off, curled up on the floor of her bedroom like a child trying to shrink out of existence. The TV glowed against the walls. Her reflection looked hollow in the black edges of the screen. She didn't hit play right away. Just stared at the thumbnail. Her father's face caught mid-blink, a stack of documents in his lap like a weapon he didn't know how to hold. When the video began, she didn't flinch. Not this time. Her father's voice sounded steadier than she remembered. Maybe because this time, she wasn't reacting. She was studying. She let it play, line by line, until the moment came where he picked up the thicker folder. The part with the deeds. The transfer records. She hit pause. Zoomed in. The date on the top document? March 17th, 2021. Her heart stumbled. That was a month before their anniversary. The one she had forgotten until the morning of. Daniel had come home with flowers. She hadn't even gotten a card. Told him, "Sorry, it's just a date. We've been busy." He'd smiled. Said it was fine. Took her to dinner anyway. She squinted. Another form. April 12th, 2022. That was the same month she started doing sponsored married life skits, where she pretended to throw tantrums. Fake divorces. Poured cereal on his laptop once. All for laughs. He'd watched her. Never complained. Never asked her to stop. She clicked ahead to another section. Her father held up the LLC filing. October 3rd, 2022. That was the month she borrowed money from Daniel's side savings to keep her merch business afloat. She didn't even ask. Just took it. Told him he believed in her, right? She paused again. Zoomed in on the signature. Hers. Right next to his. She didn't even remember signing it. Probably thought it was something about taxes. Another document. Her cousin's name listed as a witness. Another chill. That was the night of their family game night. Daniel had asked if she could sign something real quick before everyone arrived. She had a glass of wine in hand. Laughed. Sure, whatever. Her cousin had been smiling the whole time. She dropped the remote. Her hands were sweating. This wasn't revenge. This was history. A slow-burning fuse she'd mistaken for background warmth. And then, like a crowbar between the ribs, the memory hit her. That night, years ago, when she'd come home furious because a brand deal fell through. Said something cruel. She barely remembered what it was. But he'd stood in the doorway of the kitchen, quiet as always, and said, "Paper trails last longer than hurt feelings." She had rolled her eyes. Whatever, poet. He wasn't being poetic. He was being literal. And she realized, chillingly, that this had never been about a single video. This had been years in the making. She tried to stand but couldn't. Just sat there, heart pounding, watching the paused frame of her father on the TV. This wasn't just a consequence. This was an autopsy. And she was just now realizing the body was her marriage. And Daniel? He'd been documenting the death certificate the entire time. They started stitching the videos together like it was a damn art form. A popular creator uploaded a side-by-side split screen. On the left, Laura faking a teary breakup with Daniel, spouting scripted nonsense about wanting someone more exciting, while fake crying with an obviously edited violin track underneath. On the right, her father's deadpan voice reading off property transfers and contract clauses like a judge handing down a sentence. It spread like fire through digital brush. Someone added subtitles. Then memes. One tweet. She uploaded a prank. He uploaded a power of attorney. Another. This isn't revenge. This is chess. Hashtags exploded overnight. Hashtag Whitaker Clause. Hashtag Paper Trail King. Hashtag Divorce Drop. Hashtag Silent Execution. Even legal TikTok got involved. A pair of actual attorneys, brothers with a podcast, broke down the documents line by line. "This one right here," one said, pointing to a screenshot of the notarized post-nup, "is airtight. Ironclad. She signed this. Probably didn't read it. But it's enforceable." The other brother laughed. Man didn't even raise his voice. He raised his equity. They both laughed like it was a comedy special. Laura watched the clip with her mouth open, fingers trembling over her phone. She tried to reply. Tried to post her own video explaining it was just a joke. That they had a playful relationship. That she had no idea Daniel would go nuclear. But the comment section didn't want apologies. They wanted blood. She thought it was cute until it cost her the house. When will people learn? Humiliating your spouse online isn't content. It's self-destruction. He's not just quiet. He's lethal. Then came the avalanche. 3 brand partners terminated their contracts within 48 hours. One issued a public statement. "We do not condone public humiliation or emotional manipulation for entertainment." Another sent a cease and desist over her use of their products in the original prank video. Even her own merch store started getting refund demands. Someone created a parody account pretending to be her. The bio read, "Just a girl who gave up everything for 10K likes and a tripod." Her inbox was unreadable. Hate mail, death threats, gleeful mockery. She tried turning off notifications. Didn't help. She tried deleting comments. They tripled. She finally disabled all her accounts. But the internet doesn't forget. Screenshots lived on. Threads grew. People who had never met her were analyzing her facial expressions like forensic scientists. Even people who used to defend her in the early days now distanced themselves. "Yeah, I used to follow her. Didn't realize how messed up that prank was until I saw the fallout. She really did it to herself." Laura locked her phone, placed it face down on the coffee table. Then she cried. Not the fake tears. Not the on-camera, mascara running, open-mouthed sobs she used for relatable content. These were the quiet, empty sobs that don't want to be seen. She sat curled on the couch, alone, unfilmed, unfiltered, realizing she wasn't a content creator anymore. She wasn't a personality. She was a case study. And how fast it can all vanish. And what happens when you treat love like leverage, and marriage like marketing. Because this wasn't just backlash. It was collapse. And there was nothing left to post. She didn't even find the second video. Her mother did. It was a cold Thursday morning. Laura hadn't left the house in days. The curtains stayed drawn. The fridge light flickered when opened, revealing nothing but condiments and almond milk. She sat at the kitchen table in sweatpants she hadn't washed, staring at the dark screen of her phone like it might come back to life with good news. Her mother's call came at 8:04 a.m. This time, no screaming, no dramatic sighs, just a quiet, resigned sentence. They posted another one. Laura's stomach lurched. Her voice cracked. What do you mean? It's your father. Alone this time. The line went dead. She didn't ask for a link. Didn't need to. It was already trending. The thumbnail was simple. Her father sitting in a wooden chair, the same chair he used for reading the paper on Sundays. No background music. No dramatic lighting. Just natural morning sun hitting one side of his face, turning every wrinkle into an indictment. He looked older, as if the first video had aged him by years. When he started speaking, his voice was lower, calmer. The camera didn't cut. One continuous shot. I was asked to read that list not out of revenge, he said, voice wavering slightly, but accountability. A long pause. He looked down, folded his hands, then back at the lens. Daniel asked me to add a message. No hard feelings. Just clarity. He gave the barest of nods. Then, slowly, he set the papers aside. What came next wasn't part of the script. It wasn't Daniel's voice anymore. It was her father's. His eyes were tired, not angry. The sadness in them hit harder than rage ever could. I raised my daughter to honor vows, he said. Another pause. To hold private things sacred. To protect what matters. Instead, she chased applause. Laura's breath caught in her throat. I don't say this to hurt her. I say it because silence didn't teach her. Maybe this will. He leaned forward slightly. Not aggressive, just direct. I've watched this family fracture over pride, over vanity, over performative nonsense. But Daniel? That man didn't perform. He showed up, paid bills, carried burdens he didn't create. And he did it without ever asking for applause. He straightened his shoulders. This time, the applause is for the man who meant it. Then nothing. No outro. No fade to black. Just him sitting there. Until the screen went still. Laura sat motionless in her living room, fingers white from gripping the edge of the couch. She closed the video player. But the echo of her father's voice didn't stop. Applause for the man who meant it. The irony was suffocating. She had spent years trying to build an audience, measuring worth by comments and views and shares. And in the end, the only applause that mattered wasn't hers. Wasn't for her. It was for the man she mocked. The man who left without slamming a door. The man who never shouted. The man who let others speak. And now, even her father, her last hope for redemption, had chosen silence over protection. That silence. It wasn't a punishment. It was a verdict. And the applause? She could hear it even now. But it wasn't hers. It never was.